Once upon a time, in a small village nestled in the heart of Africa, there lived a woman named Amaka. She was known to be the most beautiful woman in the whole village. Her long black hair, bright brown eyes, and flawless skin made her the envy of all the other women in the village. From a young age, Amaka had always stood out among her peers. She was the center of attention, wherever she went. She enjoyed the attention and admiration she received from the villagers. But Amaka's beauty was not the only thing that made her stand out. She also had a kind heart and a gentle soul. Amaka was happily married to a kind and hardworking man named Uchi. In the 3rd year of their marriage, they gave birth to a beautiful baby girl called Kemi. Kemi inherited her mother's beauty and was loved by everyone in the village. Kemi's laughter echoes through the village and her smile brightens up everyone's day. Amaka was proud of her daughter's beauty and loved her dearly. But as Kemi grew older, Amaka's love turned into jealousy. Amaka couldn't stand the fact that her daughter was becoming more beautiful than her. Her once kind heart turned cold, and she started to grow bitter towards her own daughter. She would often scowl at Kemi and make snide remarks, trying to bring her down. Amaka started to give harsh chores and treatment towards Kemi. She would shout at Kemi and find fault with whatever she does. Kemi became very heartbroken and couldn't understand why her mother had changed towards her. So, she tried everything to please her mother in order to win her love, but all her efforts were in vain, as Amaka only grew irritated with her. Kemi, being the kind soul she was, would always show her mother nothing but love and compassion despite all this. Uche noticed his wife's change and attitude towards their daughter. He tried to find out the reason for her behavior, but Amaka dismissed his worries. She told him that she was only training Kemi so that she would not grow wayward. As the years passed, Amaka's envy grew so strong that it consumed her, and she became obsessed with bringing Kemi down. One day, Amaka's envy turned into a sinister plot. She went to a witch living deep within the forest and asked for a charm that would make Kemi lose her beauty. The witch, who was known for her deceitful ways, gave Amaka a small vial of a potent potion and instructed her to mix it in Kemi's food. Amaka was overjoyed at the thought of finally getting rid of her daughter's beauty. She waited for the perfect opportunity to put her plan into action. One evening, when Kemi was preparing dinner, Amaka sneaked into the kitchen and poured the potion into the pot of soup. She then waited eagerly for Kemi to eat the tainted soup. But fate had other plans. Just as Kemi was about to take a bite, a kind-hearted neighbor came by and invited her to a feast in the neighboring village. Kemi, being the polite and social person she was, accepted the invitation and left the soup untouched. Amaka was furious when she found out that Kemi had not eaten the food. She vowed to try again and make sure that Kemi would never be more beautiful than her. The next day, she went back to the old witch and begged for a stronger potion. This time, the witch gave her a powerful spell that would not only take away Kemi's beauty but also her life. Amaka, blinded by her envy, didn't care about the consequences and went ahead with her plan. That night, while Kemi was fast asleep, Amaka cast the spell on her daughter. As the incantation echoed through the room, Kemi's beauty began to fade, and her health deteriorated rapidly. The next morning, when Kemi woke up, she was horrified to see that her face was covered in hideous warts. Her once flawless skin was now bumpy and disfigured. Kemi was devastated, and her heart was filled with sadness. As the days passed, Kemi became so weak and could only lie in bed. She could not do anything by herself. Her father was very heartbroken to see his daughter in that state. So he tried everything in his power to get her treated, but nothing seemed to work. The village was in shock when they saw Kemi's once radiant face now pale and lifeless. The village elders suspected foul play and questioned Amaka, who denied any involvement. But deep down, she knew that she was responsible for her daughter's condition. She began to reflect on herself. The guilt and regret consumed her, and she fell into a deep depression. Meanwhile, Kemi's condition continued to worsen, and it seemed like there was no hope for her. But then, a wise old woman from the village had a dream. In her dream, she saw Amaka casting a spell on Kemi, and she knew that the only way to save her was to break the spell. She shared her dream with the villagers and they decided to go to Amaka's house together. The villagers went to Amaka and begged her to reverse the spell, telling her that it was the only way to save her daughter's life. Amaka was filled with guilt and regret. She realized that she had made a terrible mistake and that her actions had caused her daughter great pain. She went back to the old witch and begged for a cure, but it was too late. The witch told her that the only way to reverse the effects of the spell was to sacrifice something she loved dearly. Amaka knew what she had to do. Filled with deep remorse, she went to her daughter and begged for her forgiveness. Kemi was filled with sadness towards her mother's actions against her, but being the kind and forgiving soul she was, Kemi forgave her mother. Amaka then made the ultimate sacrifice, and with tears in her eyes, she plucked out her own eyes and placed them on her daughter's face. As soon as the blind Amaka's eyes touched Kemi's face, the warts disappeared, and her beauty was restored. She also gained back her health. The villagers were in awe, and they could not believe what they had just witnessed. From that day on, Amaka was known as the blind mother, who sacrificed her eyes for her daughter. Kemi and Amaka's relationship was never the same after that. Amaka was filled with immense guilt and regret, and she spent the rest of her days taking care of her daughter and making amends for her actions. Amaka learned a valuable lesson about the dangers of envy and the importance of forgiveness. She realized that true beauty comes from within, and that her daughter's kind heart was what made her truly beautiful. Amaka's story became a cautionary tale that was told to the villagers to warn them about the destructive power of envy. The moral lesson learnt from this story is that we should never allow jealous and envy to consume us and make us to commit actions that we will regret later. Thanks for watching. Kindly consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Your support will mean the world to me.